They say the first civilization to look up at the sky and understand the silence of the stars was not Atlantis, it was Lemuria. Long before kings, temples, or empires, there was a continent that breathed, a vast green and golden realm surrounded by endless oceans, where the mountains sang and the air itself shimmered with life. The Lemurians did not write on stone. They wrote within the light itself. What we call language, they called vibration, a living consciousness. Every word spoken reshaped reality. Every thought rippled through creation. History for them wasn't written. It was remembered by the earth itself. But then, something changed. The elders noticed the luminous domes above their temples fading. The great crystal pillars that powered their cities, towers of pure quartz 10 meters high, no longer pulsed with rhythm. The waters darkened, the animals fled the coasts, and so they created the first manuscript, a set of orichalcum plates meant to record the collapse of universal harmony. For the first time, the Lemurians broke their sacred law. They fixed light into matter. The inscription read, "When light becomes a prison, sound becomes a cry, and the world, forgetting itself, will fall into darkness." The plates were sealed inside obsidian temples and cast into the depths of the ocean, where magnetic currents would keep them asleep. But not all agreed to let their world die. A group known as the Keepers of the White Ray refused to surrender. They believed the Lemurian consciousness could survive through the luminous code, a system of symbols capable of storing memory in pure frequency. Those symbols became known as the Lemurian Manuscripts. There were said to be 9 of them. Each one held a fragment of what they called the primordial sound, the vibration from which all existence flows. The first described the origin of energy, a field that responded to human emotion. The second, the power of the collective mind. The third, the cycle of souls. And the 9th was never translated. It was said to contain the secret that united all worlds. Thousands of years later, long after the cataclysm, marine archaeologists discovered carved stones off the coast of the Indian Ocean, a place the locals called the Towers of Silence. The markings did not belong to any known language, and when light touched them, they glowed. It was as if time itself had left behind a living memory, the fingerprint of a consciousness that refused to vanish. Science called it a photoluminescent anomaly. But in secret circles, a different name spread, the Lemurian Call. Dr. Adrian Keller, a Swiss physicist specializing in plasma energy, was the first to partially decode the markings. He claimed the plates were conscious interfaces, machines of light designed to communicate with the human mind. In a private lecture in Geneva, he said, "Lemuria was never a lost civilization. It was a state of perception, and humanity is beginning to awaken again." Weeks later, Keller vanished. His lab was sealed. But in his encrypted cloud files, investigators found a transmission log, sequences of light pulses sent into space, matching the Lemurian symbols. The destination, the constellation of Orion. The final note in his archive read, "The code has answered." Since then, reports have surfaced across the Pacific, fishermen describing glowing towers beneath the waves, divers hearing tones like bells echoing from the abyss. According to Tibetan scrolls, the Lemurian manuscripts are not books at all, but gates. Each symbol corresponds to a point of resonance within the human body and the earth. Activating them in sequence would reconnect man to the living cosmos, a process they called the return of inner light. But light, once awakened, also destroys. Legends say the misuse of the 9th manuscript caused the magnetic inversion that swallowed Lemuria whole. The priests tried to contain the surge, but the resonance grew unstable. The sky turned black. The sea rose like a living wall. The last words recorded before the continent vanished were whispered in prayer. "The world will forget, but the light will remember." Centuries later, explorers found the same phrase etched into quartz crystals high in the Himalayas, proof perhaps that a few Lemurians survived, carrying their knowledge into the mountains. Modern theosophical texts claim secret orders still guard fragments of the manuscripts. They say the Lemurian symbols cannot be read, only heard, for they hold the rhythm of creation itself, and each time someone tries to decipher them, a pulse echoes from deep within the earth, as if the planet remembers. Today, scientists at Kyoto University record rhythmic electromagnetic bursts beneath the Pacific crust, perfectly timed, perfectly ordered, almost like a language. Some believe Lemuria was never destroyed. It simply shifted dimension. Others fear it's awakening again, and that the reactivation of the luminous frequency will mark the end of this human cycle. Perhaps the manuscripts were never a warning, but a mirror. Because if knowledge was once light, and the earth silenced it, then maybe now the earth is trying to speak again, and those who listen will never see the world the same way again. The light has spoken once more, but its message is not over. Prepare yourself. The next secret of the ancients is coming, and when it does, the line between myth and truth will disappear. Dark truths uncovered, where the past still breathes.